if you were to look at my resume, you'd find at the bottom of it a section that says interests. And in that section, you would see in order college football and traveling. So this was a particularly interesting forum for me because I got to hear a lot about two of my favorite subjects. But that, unfortunately, isn't what I get to talk to you today about, though we could talk at length about that. I was asked to tell you a little bit about me, and I think that was fitting. About a week and a half ago, I had a student in my office, and I ask each student that comes in the same set of questions. I ask them who they are, what brought them to SVU, what they want to do, and if they have a plan to get there. And most students can answer some of these questions, but not all of them. Well, this student asked me those questions, and I thought, well, that's awfully nosy. And then I realized that's exactly what I was asking them. So it seemed only fair that I take the opportunity now to answer the questions that I have you answer. When you come to my office, the standard time slot is 20 minutes. Unfortunately, I don't have that full time, so I'm going to move rather quickly. But if you'd like to know anything more about any aspect of my life, I'd be happy to talk with you at length. You can schedule an appointment and come on in. So this is my wife, Marissa. She's seated here. Wave. That's Marissa. We actually grew up together. We were in and out of the same ward, and I kind of was in and out of her parents' house. Her older sister and I were friends growing up. In fact, I went on a date with her sister. She's in the back there. We're in white, and it's not awkward. It's actually fine. But she was the one who introduced us. Well, we'd known each other for a while, but it was her idea that we start dating, and so I'm grateful for that. But we knew each other very well, and so that's the caveat I give people for why we only dated for 3 weeks before we got engaged. That we grew up together, that I had known her family and she had known mine, and it's been great to have that familiarity with one another. So in 2009, we got married, and and honestly, until about 3 months ago, I wasn't sure how I convinced her to marry me, and then I ran out of contact lenses and couldn't find my glasses, so I borrowed hers. Don't borrow someone else's contact lenses, but I borrowed hers and realized that she's pretty much blind. And that explains why it was that she was willing to marry me. So I'm grateful for her poor vision. When we got married, we decided to stay in Las Vegas. I had a pretty good job and in a scholarship at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, so we stayed, I worked, Marissa worked, and life was pretty much as easy as it could possibly. I joke, we rocked at Married No Kids. Like, it was awesome. Life was pretty much ideal for us. I majored in international politics. After returning from my mission, I felt the great desire to serve the international community. I had seen need on a level that I hadn't experienced in the past, and really felt that studying that more, studying other cultures and other systems was really something that I wanted to do. In 2012, I graduated from my undergraduate degree, and our son Ethan was born. And this picture is significant to me for two reasons. One, that's the first picture of me becoming a father. That's moments after Ethan was born. But it is also evidence of the last time my son slept for more than 4 hours. That was 2002. He's almost 4 years old, and we're still waiting for that full night of sleep. So that's Ethan. And Ethan was 6 weeks old when we started law school. We moved to Washington and Lee, and we moved there for a variety of reasons, but one of them was for the reputation of their international law faculty, and because I was able to secure a promise of a fellowship in some international law arena. That ended up being, we'll go back to that. That ended up being in Nepal. We'll do that in a second. I actually decided to go to law school when I was in the 5th grade. I had a great 5th grade teacher. She sat us in a circle. We went around, and everybody told the person that was being targeted what they thought they would do with the rest of their life, what they thought they should be. And, everybody's going around, I think he's going to do this, that, or the other. And Miss Neary, one of the greatest 5th grade teachers that's ever lived, told me that she thought I should be a lawyer or a politician. And at the time, I had never thought of any of that as a profession, but thought, okay, that sounds interesting. And so from that moment forward, anytime anybody asked me what I wanted to be, I would say that. And because no one has yet found a way to keep me from talking, everybody's like, yeah, well, that makes sense. He's just let him be a lawyer. But at the time, I wanted to either be a professional baseball player or Spider-Man. Wasn't good enough at baseball, and Spider-Man's not a career, so I, sorry if you thought it might be, decided that that wasn't a good fit, and so I went to law school. And while I was in law school, I studied. Ethan again. And that is me studying for my first day of civil procedure class, and I'm going to give you a tip for any of those of you who want to go to law school. The first case you're going to study in civil procedure, and I polled about a dozen of my friends who went to law school, is going to be a case called Pennoyer v. Neff. It is inaccessible. You'll spend 6 hours reading it, and you won't understand it. So I'm going to tell you now, it just means that if you are in a state and they serve you to go to court, or you own property in that state, then they can enter judgment against you. If you get called on, say that, you'll sound brilliant, but it won't make sense. So Ethan and I stayed up for 6 hours reading that case, and I have a big head too. That's me as a baby. Ethan baby, me baby. Big head. We actually had to take this picture to the doctor's office to prove to the doctor that my son didn't have a brain tumor and that this was just genetic. So my daughter has a big head also. This is Ethan now. Ethan's cute. Oh, yeah. This is Nepal. This is where I got to spend that fellowship. And while I was there, I worked in human rights prosecution, basically torture victims and human trafficking. And I loved it. It was great work. I learned a lot, but I learned most especially that that was not a career for me. I had known that being a human rights lawyer meant I had to live abroad, but I didn't realize that it was completely dependent on funding. It meant that once a grant ran out, I had to find somewhere else to go. And so, though we were comfortable with the idea of living in different parts of the world, the idea that we would be moving every 3 or 4 months for the rest of our lives just wasn't something that was feasible for us. So what I had thought I wanted to do, be an international attorney and so forth, wasn't a reality. Ainsley was born in 2014, and at this time I was starting to explore different options. Ainsley is also cute and just about 2 years old. She's also incredibly determined. On my birthday, we decided to go to one of those trampoline parks, but she was convinced the real party was in the janitor's closet and not on the trampolines. And so this is probably the 30th time she was running for the janitor's closet. Eventually, we let her look in there. She realized it was just a bunch of mops and went back to playing. But this is Ainsley, and she's incredibly determined. So my second year of law school, I decided to go and practice traditionally back in Las Vegas, thought that's where we'd go. And I had the ideal firm experience. Got to do interesting work, got to advocate for clients, got to do things, but I absolutely was miserable. And my wife noticed it. And in retrospect, I should have looked at what lawyers did. Prior to going to law school, I had never been to a courtroom. I had never read a legal case. I had never even been to a lawyer's office. And in retrospect, that was just a terrible way to go about deciding what to do. Just my 5th grade teacher said I'd be good at this, so I decided to go. And that is why I went to law school. And after having had that experience, I realized that though I loved law school, loved what I was learning, and was grateful for the skills, practicing law was not something that appealed to me as a career. I had the opportunity during my 3rd year of law school to work in real estate as a teaching assistant for real estate development, specifically a kind of real estate called placemaking, and it has an international nexus, so it appealed to me. But during that time, I worked on a class project that resulted in us structuring a bunch of things, and we can get into the details later if you're interested, but it's essentially, I found a way to buy that building in Buena Vista for something I could afford on no salary. So my wife and I bought it and decided. She came to me one day during, some of you will remember this, Shaky Smithson for the University of Utah they're playing organ, runs the ball, puts it on the 1-yard line, starts to celebrate, they pick up the ball, run it back, and I'm crying because I'm a diehard University of Utah fan. And so I'm having a really hard day, and my wife comes with a face that those of you who are married, your wife will have a face that says we need to talk. It was that face. And she comes in, I'm watching a game that matters to me, and she's like, we need to talk. And I said, okay. So I turn off the TV. I'm actually okay turning it off because I'm just mad. And we talk, and she says, I think we should try to stay here, which sounded kind of crazy to me, to be honest. I had the responsibility for feeding a wife and 2 children, but I couldn't deny that I felt that way as well. And so we started talking. I started consulting with different people whose opinions I wanted, and we had prayed and fasted, and through a series of experiences that with a little bit more time I might have shared, we knew that we needed to stay. And I commented to someone that I would have put my law degree in the window of a building, or in the window of a car, and delivered pizzas if I needed to, because we were confident this is where we needed to be. And we thought we'd have to live in this building and put it together. But then opportunities came, and I had a chance to come and start teaching here. And in the course of about a week, I was asked, well, that sounds fun. You should teach. Or you could do this. And that is student professional development. And so we decided to stay. This is our dog, Penny. It was that or have more children, so we got a dog. And 3 goats, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And we love it. We have absolutely loved being here. I love being a part of Southern Virginia University. I greatly appreciate the opportunity I have to work with each of you and to be a part of the Southern Virginia family. It is my objective that none of you has to have the experience I did, where I was unprepared for what I thought I wanted to do. So the mission statement of the Office of Student Professional Development is to help each student to be in the best position to succeed professionally and to find personal fulfillment. We do that by helping you to find internships, to prepare your applications, to explore yourself a little bit more, to learn what talents you may have, to learn what interests you may have, and how to turn those interests into a viable career so that you can find true, meaningful work and happiness as you go. It is our objective that each one of you has both the experience and the capability to do what you want to be the person you want to be, and to contribute to the kingdom effectively in your lives. I'm grateful for that opportunity and the support that I get from the faculty and the staff here at Southern Virginia University. It helps me to serve you better, and I am grateful for all of those opportunities and the life's experiences that have led me here. So I hope that I have answered your questions effectively, those same questions that I ask you. I am Cameron Crowther, Marissa's husband, Ethan and Ainsley's father, and a graduate of Southern Virginia University, or of, I wish, but no, of Washington and Lee School of Law. I am here because I feel as though this is where I was led. And what do I want to do with my life? Right now, what I want to do is help you figure out what you want to do. And I could honestly do that for the rest of my life, but I'm still figuring it out. And so it's an interesting time for all of us to explore who we are and what it is we want to do and how we can find greatest happiness. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.